a newer website for artists and handmade artisans to sell things on. It's kind of like Etsy, but not as saturated. Not as. You don't have a whole bunch of people on there who are buying like things off of Temu and then pretending and selling them as handmade and their own art and blah blah blah. You know what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can do some my light. Well, you know what? Bet you I can do. I notice I'm getting a lot of hand shadow. How about that? And I am working on best way to angle my camera here. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, one of the things with the Artisans Cooperative is that if you want to be able to help pitch in with the costs of creating the website, let's see here. Didn't come out as rounded as I'd like. Unfortunately, I've got arthritis bothering me, so my hands hurt, which, you know, I'm not a spring chicken, so. Matter of fact, I turn 49 here real soon, which to young people sounds old and to old people sounds young. So it's kind of funny. Anyway, so let's see. I want him to have a little chicken comb, I think. So anyway, part of being one of the, I guess you'd say, founding members, sort of Artisans Cooperative, is to try to do little fundraiser things to help raise money for the development of the website. I think, let's bring this down a little here. Yeah, that's better. So it has to either say, the item that you're selling either has to say like Artisans Cooperative on it, or it needs to have a chicken. Because chickens are the, I guess you say, symbol of their site. Not entirely sure why they chose chickens, but it's really cute. So anyway, you have to have chickens, or it has to say Artisans Cooperative on it. Well, I thought I would make some cute little chicken stickers. I need to make that a little straighter. I'll add text to them, the actual text to them, when I digitize this. Probably so that it looks neater than my handwriting, because my handwriting's not the best. Let's see. So we'll do some eyes. I think I'm going to have him so his head's kind of raised a little. So that, yeah, that puts it at a little bit of an angle. And if you're wondering about the line, what it does is it helps you to line up where the center of, say, your eyeballs are going to be. And because I'm doing Kawaii style here, Kawaii style pretty much always has large eyes. It's usually a very simple sort of design. Very cute. Trying to decide if I want to do more oval eyes. I think I'm going to go with more oval. oval's more, kind of a little more egg-shaped. If you notice my hands ever shaking in my videos, I also have kind of a neurological thing. And it causes me, unfortunately sometimes, to shake. It's progressive. It'll just keep happening more and more and more as I get older. I inherited it from my grandmother. It's called essential tremor. At least I'm pretty sure I inherited it from my grandmother. She had a problem with her hands shaking. When I asked her about it, she just said it was a neurological thing. She was on medication for it. So I'm pretty sure that's where I got my problem. My grandmother, interestingly enough, was an artist as well. And one of the ways she made money to feed her family was by actually drawing people's portraits, which I thought was pretty cool. I saw some of her work, and she was really good at it. I do more cartooning, not so much drawing people. My husband's really good at drawing people. The odd thing is, if I'm going to do people, that's just crooked, I prefer to sculpt them. Let's see. Round this out a little bit. The reality is most kawaii images don't have a lot of pointy edges. They can come close, but usually they're not really pointed. If you're wondering why this is up and back a little bit rather than on the same line, just like with the eyes, I'm trying to set it so it looks more like this leg is a little farther back. Perspective can be an interesting thing to have to learn how to do. And my husband actually did a really good teaching video on it. Let's see. On doing 1 and 2 point perspective. If you're wondering about the little arm here, why is it not a wing just sticking out in the middle of nowhere? Well, because my little chicken here is going to have a paintbrush, because I'm actually going to have it painting on a canvas. It's a really big paintbrush, isn't it? I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller here, because that's a little much. This is why you never start with ink. Oh, that's better. That's better. You want these to be small and adorable, cute. That's really what kawaii means, is that it's cute, little and cute. I'm thinking about, here, I'll write down what I'm going to put up there. Like I said, I'm going to actually add the text in once I digitize and put the text in, because my handwriting is not nearly that good. But what I'm going to have it saying is, support your small coop. Also stands for co-op, your small coop artist. So it's kind of a play on words. Obviously, it's a chicken. Chickens live in chicken coops. And small artists. Yeah. So anyway, I've got the shakes today, which I just love when I'm trying to draw anything. It is just so incredibly frustrating. I think kind of round that out a little bit. Probably round that just a little as well. And a little too far up, I think. I need to make a brush. Let's see. There we go. Even for the most talented artists, and I do not claim to be the most talented artist, when you're creating, it's trial and error. I mean, if you ever study art, you'll realize just how many attempts Leonardo da Vinci had to do on various pieces. It's not quite the right angle, I don't think. I mean, and any other artist underneath the old masters' paintings, you'll always see a lot of previous things that they did. Sometimes it's a previous piece of art. Sometimes, let's see, is that gonna be big enough? What do y'all think? I think I need to make this a little bit wider. I want to be able to have an easel stand behind it. So I need to be sure there's plenty of space to draw in the legs of the easel. So now we're going to do like the base of the easel here, going in that direction. We're going to have leg coming out here. Let's make that just a little sharper. And then maybe, because you're not going to be able to see this leg over here. So what we're looking at is actually going to be the center leg. It's not exactly a center leg per se, but more of, well, yeah, it's the third back leg. So coming down. And then the other leg would be back here where you really just can't see it. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with a little bit of color now, I think. Now you can do a couple of things. You can go ahead and ink in now. And when you do, you can erase your lines or you can ink over your lines. That's entirely up to you. You also don't actually have to ink. You can do it with pencil. Though I've found that inking makes it stand out just a little bit better. And if you do it with pencil, oops, it's usually better to put the dark lines in last, because when you're trying to do your coloring and you end up running up on the dark edges where you've put in your outline. Now would you say outline? I'd say more your accent and definition line. If you run your colored pencil over that spot, you're going to end up picking up that dark lead, and it's going to kind of get into the color that you're working with. And the color may not need that extra blackness added to it. Because while a lot of times you do shading around the edges, shadowing, it's not really usually something you'd have pulled down from the dark pencil you'd have used for the outline. So if I'm working in only pencils, then I like to put those dark lines in last. See, like, let's see, do I have one out? Do I have one out? Aha. So like this right here comes in various hardnesses, but you can accidentally pull that graphite down into what you're working on. So that's why I usually prefer to ink it in. And I'll come in and sometimes, like, helps if I use my eraser pencil, not that. Places, oopsies. You do have to let your ink dry before you do what I just did. And I'm going to actually, I love these because you can kind of sharpen your pencil, your eraser, so that you can get it nice and sharp. Although if you do too sharp, it's going to be super floppy. Or you can have it just kind of narrowed out like that. And when the end of it has a bunch of stuff on it, usually what I do is I'll run it over like my pants to just kind of wipe that off. It's not so much wipe it off, it's kind of grind it off. Okay, let's see. Too big. I got just a little off there, but that's okay. Obviously, I wore down my eraser there, so. I have to put some more arthritis cream because that's hurting. And it sucks when it hurts. You're sitting there trying to create something cool, and every time you're holding your pencil, your pen, your whatever, it's hurting. My husband knows all about that because he's an artist that has rheumatoid arthritis. So that's been a little bit hard on him. He can only work for just so long before his hands hurt too much and he has to set it aside. I think I'm going to go ahead and erase these because it still leaves me guidelines to work on. But then the graphite's not kind of, I guess you'd say, clogging up my pen. As you notice, I occasionally have to go off to the side to get the pen to work again. And you can leave your pencil lines, you can go ahead and erase them. The important thing is still having a little bit of a guideline. Oh no. Sure enough did it too, didn't I? Yeah. I meant to go to the outside guideline. That's okay. We're gonna just make do. Make some changes. As to where this comes down. When in doubt, improvise. There we go. That still looks fine. It didn't necessarily need that big of a canvas. I just wanted it to be big. Okay. So that's our base image there. Now for the fun part, which is coloring it in. Okay, so let's see. I need a red. Gonna need a couple of reds, really. When you're not sure how a color is going to look and how it's going to compare, then basically do some little stripes, because this is your drawing pad. Knocking things down. And if you're digitizing it later, you know, when you're working on the digital canvas, you're not going to have those lines. Let's see. So I'm one of those nerds that tends to have a wide array of colors and shades. Looking for a particular red right now. See if I can get this one to sharpen. Part of the problem with some pencils is you'll have where the lead breaks. I'm not sure if this is one of the ones that I melted to have the lead work properly. So what you do with that is you can take like a heating pad or put it in front of a heater, what have you. And it didn't try to fall apart this time. And then what that does is it helps to melt the wax that your pencil's color is in. Basically, you've got those that have pretty much a wax-based lead, and some that have an oil-based lead. Now, the oil-based lead, usually you can blend better, and when you do something like that, you're going to get a little smearing, more than you would do with the wax-based. Alright, so, I believe this was this one. So, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to start with the comb. And one of the things with Kawaii style images, you'll usually have like kind of highlights. So you want to make sure to leave these white spots, these white spaces. So like, say I've got, this is going to be white. It's easy enough to forget that you intended for them to be there. So I like to kind of draw them in ahead of time, so I'll know where I need to stop, because I am horrible, absolutely horrible about accidentally covering over. You're going to want to make sure you do that in the eyes as well. It adds to the cuteness factor to have this bright white highlight. Oh. Did I put my eraser? There it is. I got that a little close to the top of the eyeball. It needs to come down just a little. There we go. So basically, these spots, those spots, and I'm thinking I'm going to do the beak with a little bit of highlight as well. So let's go ahead and trace that out now. Shoot. Alright, so I just broke my lid, which I've done before, but not on my yellows. Let's try that again. And I may have just gotten a little bit too intense with it. If you're wondering how it comes about that these lids break, well, it tends to happen with the movement of the pencils in the box banging against each other. Sometimes boxes get dropped, what have you. Well, when that happens, you end up kind of putting cracks in the wax inside. I guess we might as well do the beak. Usually I'll start the base layer I'll do the entire light layer, and then I'll do the darker over it. And this is kind of where shading comes in. Provides a little bit of depth to your image. And some shadow. There we go. And let's see. Where's a black? A true black. Should have one in this. There we go. Let's go ahead and do the eyes. And I know they're not perfect ovals, but that's okay. When you work these on, if you're going to do them in digital, which I like to transfer them over into a digital style, after I've hand drawn and gotten my kinks worked out, then working with that, you can actually make your circles and ovals and all much better, so that you don't have that human error, so to speak, that messes up the perfection of the circle. See, like I accidentally did that. So let's see. So we're going to start with our light color. And yes, I'll do the entire comb in the light color. And then I'll come in with darker colors. To do my highlights and my edges. See, I almost went right over that spot. And got rid of that white streak. May actually have to put some arthritis cream on before I can finish this because my hand hurts. And it's not just a matter that I've gotten a little bit older. It's also the fact that osteoarthritis runs in my family. And the weather right now sucks. So it's cold. And that just kind of increases the arthritis. I'm going to push pause on this for a minute while I do that. Give me one sec. Okay, I'm back. And if you see a shiny thing on my hand, that's from the ointment I just put on. Let's see. Let me sharpen this up. It's really dark brown. We're going to go ahead and okay, so we're going to go ahead and start darkening this in where I want the comb to be darker. Have a little bit lighter streak up there, but it's not going to be the clear white like the other one. I think. And a lot of times with these, you have 2 to 3 shades for the shadowing and the highlighting of a particular color. Kawaii is fairly simplistic, sort of. And usually it'll kind of have sharp edges where the color change is. I think I'm going to go and darken this just a little bit, not a lot of it. So we have a couple of layers. So like we'll have some darker up there at the top. It'll get a little bit lighter. Let's see about that. And let's pull in this one that's a little bit even darker than that. Sometimes shading differences can be very subtle. Sometimes they can be very sharp and defined. Eraser, eraser, where have you gone? And I tend to have a tendency to brush across, so I end up sometimes smearing my colors a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to do let's see. I kind of leave this as a highlight. Then I need see. I think. Where's my dark brown? That is a little too dark. That's why I like having a variety of colors to work with. Red. There's a brown. There's a couple of browns to work with. Just like having multiple shades, you know? Okay, that's a little better. Really only have one Prismacolor pencil because my brown that was about this shade wore down so fast because the leads were breaking that I ended up buying this separate. And wouldn't you know, the leads were breaking in this as well. So whether it's oil based or just wax based, you can still do that same heating trick so that it just kind of makes everything better. When you know that it's actually gotten to the right, I guess you'd say, consistency, this will feel a little bit soft. Set it to the side. Don't fiddle with it until you've actually had a chance to let it re-solidify. See. We want to add another into that. Darken it right here just a little, not a bunch. Kind of layering my colors a little bit. Let's see. I like my Prismacolor for that a little bit better. But I put it off to the side, now I gotta find it again. That's sad. Yeah. Okay, this is pretty pathetic. I have a stack of pencils here, and now I can't find. Oh, there it is. Like, where did it go? Where did it go? No, not that one. Let's see. I want it to be just a little bit darker, so I'm going to bring that in just a little bit. Let's see, now some grays. Let's start with light gray. And then move into a darker gray. And maybe with a touch of blue. Yeah, I think just a little kind of a touch of blue going on. And then it's a gray over it. sharpen this up just a titch. Okay. And here's my blueprint-ish. That's the one I was looking for earlier. Just didn't have it in the right spot. Let's see. I'm gonna go light tan. And then my Prismacolor right in there. Okay. Now we've got some little legs to color. You know, if your image isn't perfect, that's okay. Nobody's perfect. And you kind of learn as you go along. Sometimes you make changes. Sometimes you have an initial image that you work on, and then you end up just kind of doing another one because you want it to look actually different than that. Or you make little mistakes like that where you get the smears. So if you're wondering why this dark look right here, think about the shadow under the chicken's body. It's not too bad. I think this feels so empty though, doesn't it? Is it? Okay. The edge of the canvas, because you're kind of looking at it from the side. It's hard to make that straight, but we're doing our best. We're doing our best. Add a little more gray into it, I think, on top of the blue. Okay. Actually, I think I'm gonna not sure if that works well or not. We're gonna see. And just kind of, it's super blank and empty and white. So I'm gonna put a little light tracing of color here. If you're ever doing this kind of where you're putting in some extra little color just to break up the white and it seems like it's just a little bit too much, don't forget you have an eraser. And you can actually lighten up what you're doing, because sometimes even though you're, and I'm using a very light hand to do this, sometimes even though you're using a very light hand, it still comes out a little darker than you'd like. So what you can do is once you've done it, you go in and you erase a little bit of that color. You're not looking to get rid of all of it, and you need to try to make sure not to go out of that range. You might smear some color where you didn't want it. See how that lightened it up? So I've still got that coloring there, but it's lighter. Okay. Let's see. And do kind of a, I think we're going to do kind of a shadow under the chicken. So we have our chicken shadow. I think we're also going to do kind of a canvas shadow as well. Now if you're doing something like this, you're going to kind of start, you're not sure how big you want to make it, start smaller and then expand it if you want. I think I'm going to expand this a little bit in this direction. And take into account that wing. And then throw in a little touch of gray on that, I think. Give it more of a shadow look. See. Okay. Now we need to put some shadowing on the chicken itself. So I'm going to stick with this kind of blue-gray thing I've got going on. You don't want it to be super dark. And remember, I can always lighten this up some, which I'm probably going to do. I'm going to do a little something here. I want this to sweep up just a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Let's see. A little shadow under the wing. And this is like the underside of the chicken's body, sort of. Where it slopes down. So we're going to have a little more shadowing there. And then we're going to go lighter. And that's that. As light as I can. And I'll probably lighten it up a little bit more with my eraser. Let's see. Slightly darker here. Lighter gray, I think. We're having basically a couple of shades going on here. Here's my eraser. I'll lighten this some before I put the gray in. that to be as intense as it would be underneath. So just a light dosing of gray, not too strong. Maybe just right here, right under the comb, go just a titch darker. Let's see. Light dosing of gray. Feels like that got a little too dark. Let's see. Maybe just a bear. Just the blue. I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit, I think. Still a little too blue right there. We need to add that gray on top, right under the wing. Just right under the paintbrush, where the paintbrush sits above it, with the light gray, light gray. Well, that ain't half bad. So, cute little kawaii style chicken. Support your small coop artist. I'm going to be turning this into a sticker. I've got a couple more I'm going to do. One's a little bit more complicated. So, I may or may not do a video on that one because that video would be much longer. But I have an idea for more in the picture, more depth to it. And that video would be very long indeed. But hopefully hopefully you guys like this. Hopefully it'll be a reasonably popular sticker. I think I want to do, it just feels sort of blah. So I'm going to do just a thin little light grayish, almost like a super light gray carpet. well enough alone. There we go. Alright. So, new chicken sticker. I hope you like it. I hope everything stayed in frame because I wasn't really watching the camera. Thank you for joining me. If you find some use in my videos, I wouldn't mind if you would hit like and subscribe. Helps me get my videos out there. And who knows, maybe someday, I'll become monetized and this will actually help pay my bills. Alright, thank you guys. Y'all have a good day.